Oh, I love y'all, really, I do. Wow. So last week, I shared some ideas from the Christmas story that maybe were different than you heard about before, or maybe not. I talked about dreams and angels and how many times in the scriptures, which are from Matthew and Luke, by the way, because remember the Christmas story is not in Mark and it's not in John. It only shows up in Matthew and Luke. And the whole Christmas story doesn't show up in either one. We always kind of combine it together these days. You know, we have the shepherds and the wise men, even though the wise men show up in Matthew and the shepherds show up in Luke. We kind of lump it all together as if it happened all like we like to have it for this season. So last week, dreams and angels. Dreams and angels, many of the messages that showed up in the Christmas story, whether it was to Mary or the shepherds or Joseph or the wise men, came in dreams and angels. And so I talked about that last week, and we lit a candle of peace. We lit a candle of peace. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Christmas story, and we're going to light another candle today. But let me start off this way. So today I want to talk about the wise men and the shepherds and what happened for them. The wise men came from the east, right? And they had seen this star rise up in the sky, and they knew it had some meaning, but they knew that something big was going on. They knew something big was going on. And so they went to King Herod because they said, where has this been, where is the King of the Jews? Like, this was the sign that Jesus was to be born, although they know the name Jesus, the King of the Jews. And so they went to Herod, and he had them go find this child, right? And ahead of them went this star. That's how they were led to find where Jesus had been born. All right, this star rose up, and they're following the star, these three wise men. Well, that's interesting, right? I want to talk a little bit about that. But what about the shepherds? What was their experience? Because they also traveled to see this birth of this child, Jesus. Well, in Luke, and I talked a little bit about this last time, the shepherds were out in the fields, and all of a sudden the angels come out of the sky. There's this big dun 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 dun. There's this big thing that happens in the sky, and they say, "Do not be afraid." The angels come, and what it says in Luke, it says, and suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest." Oh my gosh. They're out there tending these sheep in this quiet night, and this is what happens in the sky. Well, those of you who know me know that's one way of looking at the Christmas story, is literally like that happened that way, and certainly in a historic sense, that's the story in a literal sense. But what else could it mean? What could it mean to me today? How can I bring it alive in me? What else could it mean besides just the story of it? Because as I mentioned last time, these people who were writing these Gospels, and I don't know if their names were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, neither does anybody else. What were they trying to tell us? Like, what were they trying? Well, they were writing 80 to 100 years after Jesus was born. This was not the biography as he went along. The wise men didn't go back to their enclave and start writing about what happened. So what were they trying to tell us? What were they trying to tell us? Well, I like to think that there's more than just the story. And the first thing I'll say that I think they were trying to tell us is simply this: look up for guidance. Look up for guidance. How often do we get caught in the weeds of our life? We're right here, down here, scratching around, we don't even look up. What about looking up and out to see what's possible? Like, I think that's what they're saying here. That in order to know something greater than what's happening right in front of you, you need to look up and look out. It's like taking that deep breath. When we take the deep breath here, we go, it's kind of like that reset. That's what looking up and looking out is about, I think. Look up for guidance. Look up and out. Look at the clouds. Look at the sky. Look at the stars. Look at the sea. Look at the top of the mountains. Look up and out. You will see the fingerprint of God everywhere if we do that. Don't you think so? I was at the end of my driveway, this was on my mind, and I was out with our dog, letting the dog go out and do the business, and I was like, look up, Paula, look up and out. What did I see? 2 cardinals just having a wonderful time. Like, is that enough to make you smile? Isn't that the fingerprint of God? To look up and out. Let's practice that. Again, not while you're driving, but let's look up more. Let's get out of the weeds of our life. Sometimes it's tantalizing to stay in the weeds, but I say it's much more a spiritual practice to look up and to look out. And then I was thinking, you know what? It probably would have been really more comfortable for those wise men to stay home. Like they see the star rising, they're like, okay, something big's happening, but I don't really feel like getting out tonight, right? It might have been a lot more easier for the shepherds to say, well, yes, we had this big announcement in the sky, but dang, we need to take care of these sheep. What happens when we go into Bethlehem and it's way over there, by the way? Why do I need to go there? I think that's telling us something also. I think it's saying you've got to take action in your life. It's not enough to see stuff. It's not enough to be spiritual. We've got to put shoes to that. We've got to act. And by the way, when you show up, bring your best stuff. Bring your best stuff, your gold and your frankincense and myrrh. Don't reach around the back of your closet and take something out that you don't even like. Bring your best self. Bring the best stuff you got. I hope we're doing that next week. I hope that the scarves and the pens and the special candy and the special socks are really special and not something we got at the dollar store. Let's show up and bring the best stuff. I think that's what we could take maybe from how the wise men were. What about the shepherds? Well, you know what the shepherds did when they showed up? They talked to Mary and they said, listen, we had this message come to us. This son that you have is something special. They were confirming to Mary what they had heard on high. How often are we encouraging to people when we show up? This is show up and be encouraging. Show up and say, hey, you got this. Show up with your best self. I think that's what that could mean. And you could say, Paula, well, where did you get all that? Well, it's a possibility. And I say it's a good possibility. It's a way to be more in line with what and who we really are. Yes? I also think that these wise men and shepherds demonstrated hope. I think they demonstrated hope. Today is the second Sunday in Advent. The second candle we light is for hope. It is the Prepare Ye the Way of the Lord. That's the name of this series that I'm talking about. To be peace was the first candle, and now we light the candle of hope. Hope is confident expectation, by the way. Hope is not this wishy-washy kind of, well, maybe I'll give it a try, well, ho-hum kind of thing. No, that's not hope. That's not hope at all. That's lack of commitment. That's indifference. That's laziness. That's what that is. That kind of hope has no foundation at all. None. That's not what hope is. Hope is bold. I want you to know that. Hope is bold. Hope is real anticipation. It's real anticipation. It is knowing that there is something big and possible going on. That's what hope is. I think that's what those wise men and shepherds came. They weren't like, well, hope this is a good trip, but I don't know if we're, they were anticipating something amazing and great. That's what hope is. That's how I think they demonstrated it. They were waiting to get there. If they could have taken the A train, they'd have been there right away. That's what hope is. There is even a suggestion in the word origin of hope, which I looked up, that it came from the word hop. In other words, to leap with expectation, to leap with excitement, to leap knowing that there is something just amazing about to happen. That's what hope is. And this kind of hope is not grounded in anything you can see in this world. This kind of hope is not the kind of hope that you can get from your friends or your family anywhere in the world. That's not where this kind of hope comes from. The foundation of this kind of hope is none other than God itself. It's the divine in you. That's where it springs from. You don't find this hope outside of you. You uncover it from the depths of you. You allow it to be revealed to you from whatever you call God. The greater, the great, the unlimited, the Krishna, the Buddha, whatever you call that, whatever that thing is in you, that's the foundation. That's the kind of hope that is bold, because you know it really isn't you. And the way you activate that hope into you is to believe absolutely and unwaveringly that you are an expression of God, that you are simply an instrument, that you are right here and right now the exquisite face of God in this form, in this color, in this way. You are that right now, the exquisite face of God. With that kind of belief, can you imagine the kind of hope you would have? As if anything is possible. And Jesus talked about this, by the way. And here's what he said in John 14. I want you to listen to this. And this is from the Message Bible. It says, "The person who trusts me," Jesus is saying, "will not only do what I'm doing, but even greater things. Because I, on my way to the Father, am giving you the same work to do that I've been doing. You can count on it." This is what Jesus is telling us. You will do the same work I do, and even greater things, because I'm going to the Father. And listen to this. He says, "In just a little while, the world will no longer see me. But you are going to see me, because I am alive, and you're about to come alive yourself. At that moment, you will know absolutely that I am in my Father, and you're in me, and I'm in you." Boom! I mean, that's a wham moment for me. That God, the Father, the Spirit, whatever you call it, is alive in me. Oh, that's where my hope comes from. And what do I do with a hope like that? What do I do with that amazing power of God in me, the divine in me? Luke 11 says this, gives us some instruction about how this works. It says, "No one lights a lamp and then hides it in a drawer. It is put on a lampstand so that those entering the room have light to see where they're going. Your eye is a lamp, lighting up your whole body. If you live wide-eyed in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. If you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a dank cellar. Keep your eyes open, your lamp burning, so that you don't get musty and murky. Keep your life as well lighted as your best lighted room." This light, my friends, I believe, is God itself. Your higher power, the Holy Spirit, Allah. That light is that. It is your hope in you, as you, expressing as you. Anything is possible with that kind of hope. Anything is possible. So today we light this Advent season, this candle, not for hope, but of hope. Of hope. It's a prepare ye the way of the Lord. If I can prepare myself to come from the foundation of God in me, all things are possible. I prepare the way of the Lord in me. So we don't light a candle for hope, but of hope. The candle that we light is a commitment to rely on that foundation of God in us. And I've given you another affirmation as you come up and light this candle during meditation. And here it is. God is the foundation of hope in me. I am bold and confident. Can you say that with me? God is the foundation of hope in me. I am bold and confident. So as we go into meditation today, I'll invite you, as I did last week, to come up and light your candle, not for hope, but of hope, to demonstrate your commitment and your belief of the living God living you and living me. And that's where you put your faith and your bold and joyful confidence. Please put your candle to the back of the little sand box there so that others won't burn their shirt sleeve. And please come up through this aisle over here as we go into meditation and light those candles. In preparation for meditation, let's stay seated and sing We Three Kings.